think that in the wake of woke privileging and this like hyper protecting of everyone's feelings, that Jews are not included in that?
Well, they are in some conversations, but yeah, normally they're included as members of the privileged and the white.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know why.
I mean, the game is so silly anyway.
I mean, partly because, like, I guess just in terms of class, Jews do very well. So, in a certain sense, we are very privileged.
And why do you think Jews do very well?
I think it's because of, well, many factors. One is certain cultural attributes that work very well in the kind of society we have right now. And also, just like trauma is generational and inherited, so is fortune. If you're born into wealth, and then you're going to have a much better chance of becoming wealthy yourself or maintaining that wealth. So there's that as well. I mean, the whole conversation about privilege and all of the guilt and shame associated with it. I mean, I can say a lot about that. I think that it doesn't actually serve to correct the conditions that motivate that in the first place. I look at it much more through, I spent 9 years of my life in Taiwan and absorbed very much that way of thinking. And in Chinese, you wouldn't really speak of privilege, you would speak of fortune. And it was, and it is understood that some people have just good fortune, good luck. You can look in your birth chart and you can tell if this person is, going to have good fortune in their lives and what kind of good fortune. There's many, many different kinds of yuan, it's called. And so it could be financial fortune, it could be fortune in love, it could be fortune in health. There's many different kinds of fortune. So it's I guess the Confucian teaching around that is that it is your duty to discharge the responsibilities of your status and to use your fortune well, to do that in a good way, and to use your fortune well for the benefit of others in a way that is humane and ethical. The basic setup that some people are going to have fortune and some people aren't is not questioned in Confucianism. That's just the way things are.
Right.
So whatever status you are lodged in this ordained differentiation of human fortune, like that's where you are, and you just do the best job you can from that place. So yeah, so here we are, very fortunate. And we look at the status of Black people in America. We look at the status of the indigenous around the world. We look at the status of people who have suffered the exploitation of neoliberal capitalism and global austerity and globalism, and the international debt regime. And whether they're in this country or abroad. And as human beings who have the means to do something about it, like, we want to act. The idea that we have to be guilted into acting assumes something about human nature that says, I know you. If it were just up to you, you would happily continue to live your affluent life and not care about anything else. So we're going to try to make you care by pointing out the crimes of your ancestors. I think that is counterproductive, actually. I think that we can hold another story about people, which is that I know you as a caring person, and you care about the earth, and you care about your fellow human beings. And so I'm going to show you something, show you a way in which your fellow human beings are suffering, or in which the earth is suffering. And I know that when you have this information, you will want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a different story to hold somebody in. And one of my core principles is that the story we hold somebody in is an invitation for them to act from that story. Mm-hmm. So what story do we hold people in when we shame them for their, white privilege or whatever privilege? It like, I understand, like, it's coming from a place of I'm troubled by the situation on this planet, by the inequality on this planet, by the legacy of racism and all the other isms and phobias and things. Like, I'm troubled by this. I want to make something, I want to change it. Like, I see where it's coming from. And I share the desire to right the wrongs and remedy the injustices and heal the traumas. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that the way that is being pursued in what you're calling woke ideology is effective. And in fact, it kind of perpetuates the underlying pattern of dehumanization. It's not a victory to switch the subjects of dehumanization from Black people to white people,
right?
Or from, women to men.
Right.
Like, that's still the same pattern. It's
right.
No victory if just to switch the identity of the victims, to switch the role of victim and oppressor.
Right.
What we really want is to end that pattern altogether.
Right.
And therefore, we have to change the foundation of that pattern, which is our ready acceptance of dehumanizing narratives about other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think woke ideology does humanity a grave disservice. I think, 70s and 80s, when I grew up, we were way further ahead in terms of equality than where we've moved now, which to me seems that it's extremely inorganic and contrived. The whole idea of privilege is so reductive. It's based on these shallow identifiers that, that we thrust on people, assuming that we know them or know their history, as though Black people don't have money, as though white people or men don't suffer, don't have mental illness. Like, I feel like it attempts to homogenize us, and it creates more racism in the process. Mm-hmm. That being, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, that being said, like, I do believe some stereotypes are true, right? And I think that there's something healthy to just acknowledge them. I waited tables for 12 years. And when I waited tables, like, the Jews were the worst tippers and the highest maintenance. And that was just my experience. And I'm a Jew. It wasn't anti-Semitism. That was just what I learned from waiting tables, And so I think there's something, and I see it in myself and I see it in my friends, like, yeah, maybe there is a weirdness around money with us, and maybe there is something healing in acknowledging that and taking responsibility. I don't think there's any, that we're wrong or bad, but every, tribe has their prominent qualities and characteristics.
Yeah. And there may be, explanations for that. Like, when you are a persecuted minority, then the scope of generosity tends to be restricted to your own tribe.
Totally.
So if you're out in society, yeah, you're gonna, like, these are people from outside your tribe, even if might not know your waitress is Jewish,
right?
But you're maybe going to be more oppositional, more adversarial to people outside the tribe than inside. I mean, that's why usury, charging of interest, in Jewish law was permitted to non-Jews. You were allowed to charge non-Jews interest, but you could not charge other Jews interest. That was against the Talmudic
law. And that's kind of creepy. I judge that as kind of creepy, this sort of like the treating of the Goyim differently. And yet I've been, in my, once established media kicked me out and I found my home in alternative media, I realized there's a lot of anti-Semitism here. You know, for every video that I post on BitChute, there are a number of, you know, shut up, kite, get your teeth fixed.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like I see it too. Like I some of the, I mean, it's really disturbing. Some of the, you know, I'm known as a COVID dissident, you know, so like I tend to, you know, peruse Substack, Telegram channels, you know, and some of them are like pretty darn anti-Semitic, you know, like really like full on, you know, Aryan Brotherhood kind of stuff. And it was shocking. I remember one time I saw like this, you know, 2-minute video by this Australian guy, you know, and he was talking about his farmer's market, you know, and local community and like all these, and like healing the soil and stuff. And he ends his thing with Sieg Heil. I had to replay it. I'm like, hold on, what did I just hear? And like, he gives this Nazi salute. And it made me really sad, actually.
Yeah.
That, I mean, this is how the system is perpetuated, by diverting our revolutionary energies away from real change toward each other.
Right.
We end up going to war against each other. Like these false enemies are erected for us to battle against, while the actual forces and institutions that are responsible for the way things are left unchallenged.
Hey, superstars, thank you so much for sharing your sacred attention with me. If you are receiving any value out of my videos, if you are inspired to go deeper into the realm of quantum languaging, to learn more about how language programs our subconscious minds, programs our reality construct, and to learn how to use language to program our reality construct for the infinitely more unified, abundant, peaceful, empowered, and fun, I encourage you to delve into my webinars. I have multiple webinars up on my website. I have the language of sovereign authority, I have the language of healing, and I have Word Up, how to empower yourself and the world with your every word. When you register for those webinars, you get lifetime access, which is awesome because I recommend multiple viewings. Sometimes we can slip into some deleterious languaging habits. It's good to have them as a refresher. You can invite your friends over, have a viewing party. They make for great gifts. You can find the links to those in the link here in the About section of this video, or on my website, quantumlanguaging.com. I'd love to support you in going deeper with this work.